as far as what's happening with mass shooting, the current and recent affairs, and particularly gun violence in the schools, how it can be prevented. Are you for people carrying guns, being able to access the guns, or are you against it? Right now, the law, I think they changed the law to you having to be 21 to be able to purchase a gun. Since the last incident, they changed that law because the last young man was 18 years old and he was able to access all of those firearms. And so they immediately changed it to 21. However, the question is, does that really matter? 18 to 21, or do they need to change other laws about accessing guns? Or do we as regular citizens even need guns? That is the question. What should they have in the schools to protect you all as students? I want your mind to go there. Go off the Richter scale. Let's talk about gun violence, how your opinion and your perspective can impact change. This is real stuff. This is a matter of life or death. And you, as American citizens or American residents, have the say-so. Now, let's talk about a couple of rules. Respect is absolutely necessary. If someone says something you don't agree with, you don't badmouth them, you don't speak anything negative, you have an intelligent conversation. I understand what you're saying. However, we don't want to say but, because but negates what was said prior. So you would say, I understand what you're saying, or I totally respect what you're saying. However, let's look at it in this perspective. Or however, how about this? Or in addition, I think this may be. I understand, I respect what you're saying. However, I completely disagree. It is okay to disagree as long as it's done respectfully. Does everybody get that? Yeah. All right? This is not where you have to say what she wants you to say. You say what you feel you need to say, but everything in a respectful manner. Sounds good? All right, ladies and gentlemen of the audience, we have in front of us Kai Vance, Andy Vance, and Dimitri Hudson, Group 1. In Group 2, we have Matthew Dennis, Kamaya Hughes, and Shania Thompson. Let's welcome them to our debate. Gentlemen, you've been given the rules and the regulations, and we expect you to uphold them. If you are going a little too long with your answer or your comment, you will see me do this. This means wrap it up, okay? We have approximately 20 minutes for this debate. Again, our first debate is gun violence. We will start with Group 1. Anyone, let's begin the conversation. How do you feel about gun violence? What's your perspective? Kai, we'll start with you. And we want you to project your voice so we can hear you.
I believe that regular civilians should not have the right to have guns because sometimes they may not have criminal records, but they do some crazy things with guns because they think they have the right because it's not in law they can't have guns, and they're of the certain age limit to have a gun. So that is why I believe they should not have guns.
So you believe regular citizens should not have guns?
Or people in general.
People in general, except for law enforcement. Okay. Any debate? Anyone who debates that?
No, I do not.
No. So you all agree that no one should have guns?
Yes. Except for law enforcement and other things that require it.
Okay, she has voiced her opinion on why. What is your opinion? Why do you agree with her?
I agree with her because I actually know someone that carries a firearm, and I understand it's for protection, but you would need protection from a gun if other people have guns. So taking that perspective, the gun situation could be handled if no civilian or anyone that is not a part of law enforcement or the military should carry one. Even if you're a part of the military, you carry a gun off of the battlefield, you are not meant to do so.
Okay, now let's deal with reality. The reality is there are people with guns. And we definitely can't go into their homes and remove the guns. How do we rectify what's going on now with a mass shooting? How do we move forward? Because we can't undo what has been done. How do we fix it? Ende?
I believe we can fix that problem.
Hold your hand up, please.
Oh, sorry. I believe we can fix that problem by only allowing certain ages, like that isn't like at least maybe above 21 or 21, because I understand like our ages are mentally ill at times, which I'm understanding.
So you threw in the mental illness
Yes.
aspect, which can happen when you're 21 or older. Now, we understand that they do not have an extensive process in order to access a firearm. What do you think about that? The laws do not require individuals to go through an extensive process in order to access a gun or a firearm. It's somewhat easy.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I believe it should be a long, extensive type course for a certain person to acquire a firearm, or someone that is like in law enforcement or military, because they might be mentally ill and they should be like put through training and like multiple sessions to deal with mental health and stuff like that, so they can go through the training to have a firearm so they don't do damage to themselves or other people.
Great answer, great answer. Okay, does anybody else have an input in that regard?
I have an input about the age limits. So though we are considered adults by age 18, studies have shown that a person's brain doesn't develop until they're about 25 to 30 years old. And I think that's a big thing when it comes to this. Because when you're 17 and 18, there isn't much of a difference. 1 minute ago you were 17 years old and you were considered a naive teenager. When you turn 18 the next minute, you're considered this full-grown adult that knows everything. But in reality, we're still children. All these things say you have to be 18, but your brain is still a child whether you like it or not.
Very powerful.
So I believe that age range and other things that require extensive thinking should be given by age 25 or even older by 30 at most.
Okay, so at least age 25, you should be allowed at that point to access a firearm. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Shania, any input? Dimitri, any input? Matthew?
I also agree with Ende when he was saying that we should make it more extensive. I feel like maybe we should have tests put into place and maybe like paperwork and psychology tests, because a lot of these people have chemical imbalances that we don't know about. And that's why there's so many mass shootings and different situations going on. So I feel like, yes, we should have like a psychology test, we should have a paperwork test, we should educate them on guns and have trainings and things of that such so that they will know about guns and the importance of it and how to handle.
Absolutely. Good job. Great answers. Great answers.
I agree with Kamaya. I feel like the amendment should be changed because I feel like civilians shouldn't have guns. I feel like we can have alternatives such as pepper spray, stun guns, and tasers, stuff of that sort, because people are violating their Second Amendment. It was put into place to protect ourselves, not to kill other people. So I feel like it should be adjusted.
Ooh, absolutely. All right, so if there is nothing else regarding this topic, Dimitri, did you have any last minute statements about it? No. Okay, so here is the big question before we go to our next topic. Who feels safe in your schools? Raise your hand. Out there, our audience, who feels safe in your schools? Why do you feel safe in your school, Jada?
My school has like police officers guarding it, and they will also they have practice. I know every school probably does it, practice code reds and stuff, but they do it a lot.
So you all often do the code red routine, and you have police officers. Okay, that's good. Jeremy, behind you.
I feel safe in my school because if you come late, they have a literal security guard at the entrance of our gate, so he can check to see if there's any weapons or stuff in your car.
Okay. Well, it's really good to feel safe I'm glad you two or three feel safe, absolutely. The majority do not feel safe. Have you shared it with your parents or any other adult? Or are you just dealing with the fear by yourself?
It's a more or less in between type of thing, because I've seen how a drill has affected people. I was in a summer camp back in I think 2019. It was before the pandemic. I was a volunteer. I think I was a volunteer or a student, one of the two. But today, over the radio, we heard a code red. We were not alerted that it would be a drill. We were not alerted. So we were on the stage having karaoke, and I remember zooming, grabbing my bag off the stage and zooming into a back closet door. It's like a small hallway. None of us were scared. We're scared to death. And I remember that the counselor coming around saying, "Good job, guys." We were not informed. We were absolutely terrified. And I was like 9, 10, 11 years old, experiencing this, and this shouldn't be something that should be happening. And it's honestly very scary. Even in high school, we had to be informed. Makes no sense that a bunch of elementary students weren't informed about that.
Totally understand and agree. Matthew, how do you feel about that?
I agree with her. And my experience, like in school, like me, I'm always on edge. Like I'm not really like just calm, like in situations at school, because like the school I go to, you had a lot of things happening, and it's like anything can happen at any moment. So yeah.
So you're on edge at your school.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's quite a bit of stress as a young person. Yeah, you should. The question is, have you all talked with any adult or anyone who could perhaps help you out with this?
I've talked to my father about it many times since he knew about law enforcement, and even with the recent thing at Robb Elementary, it even just puts me more on edge as we're going back to school. And as someone who goes, well, it's not low income, but who doesn't have that much security, they now have cameras literally everywhere. You can't walk anywhere without someone seeing. I really once saw the principal going through footage trying to find something. It's to the point where you can't walk around the school with any privacy. You have to like be on edge and someone's watching you at all times.
Yeah, unfortunately in this day and time, if you want to be protected, you give up a certain amount of your privacy. That's just how it is, especially in the world. I can't say especially America. It's just in the world. You all did a fantastic job on this topic. Now, let's quickly go to our second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining our debate. You are our second group. The first group did a phenomenal job, right? And I know you will do a phenomenal job. Remember, project your voice. We've learned about projection so you can be heard. Remember, be respectful to each other. Voice your opinion and make sure we hear you on these two topics. Sit up with proper posture and be sure we hear you. Joelle, proper posture, please. Sit up. Thank you. Over here in group 1, we have Jeremy Johnson, Savannah Robinson, Jada Johnson, Joel Calder Jr. On the right, we have Jaden Calder, Sadia Taylor, Rafaela Corona, Elijah Taylor. And I am your narrator, I am your speaker. I am here to usher you through this conversation. You all are a younger group, with the exception of Jaden and Elijah, a little older. So speak up because you matter. Our first topic is gun violence, most particularly gun violence in the schools. You all know what's been happening, right?
Yes.
So we want to know what you think about it. How can we solve this thing? And how can we make sure that you all are safer and the other students are safer in the schools? Let's begin with Savannah.
I believe that they should change the laws for students, for people's ages for guns, because like an 18-year-old shot a school in Texas and he was 18, and I believe that they should change the ages for the shootings. I mean, for like the guns and
For
stuff.
accessing a gun.
Yes.
So they did change it to age 21 right after he did that. Do you think age 21 is sufficient?
Sort of, but I think it should be like a little bit older, because like
the teens and stuff been shootings in schools, and sometimes they were like older, like 20 or something.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Any other opinion on that? Go ahead, Jeremy.
I believe the age limit for having a gun. I believe the age limit for having a gun should be at least 25, because at 25 you would probably like have a fully developed brain, and you would probably know how to solve your mental problems by that time. You probably will be able to afford a therapist. And plus, if one have a 25-year-old had went to a school to go shoot it.
Okay, so you think they should be more mature? They'll be more mature at 25. Absolutely. Jada?
I believe that if you're like still like in your 20s, you should be at least like 25 to own a gun, or you should not be able to own a gun because you're a citizen, and only like polices and law enforcement and stuff like that should be able to own a gun because they actually need it. As a citizen, you don't really need the gun.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Any other opinion over here? Oh, Joelle.
Well, here's the thing, like, people are, basically using guns. Like, I feel like guns didn't really, I feel like teenagers didn't have access to, like, use guns because when they go to schools and shoot up schools, and then when it's on the internet, some people are actually trying to get justice for them just because they look cute or fine. You know, and I just wonder why, because they did a bad thing, but they don't really care about what they did, they just care about how they look, you know.
So internet is giving the wrong perception of these individuals.
Basically.
Yeah, absolutely. We know of individuals who have shot up other places, and you do a GoFundMe on social media for them, and they raise millions of dollars for the individual. So that happens, so I definitely understand what you're saying. Over here, what is your opinion on the gun violence happening in schools?
Well, I believe it's very unfortunate that's happening in the first place. But it is the people that pick up the guns that kill the people, not the guns itself. And I understand that people think that only law enforcement should have guns. However, the founding fathers wrote the amendments like that beautifully because it gives people the right to protect themselves. Now, I understand that we need to have like a longer process so we make sure that people who are getting the guns aren't mentally insane or whatever reason that they may do something like that. And I understand that we need to have more protection for people. For example, like you guys mentioned earlier, the metal detectors, I believe that would be a very good idea to protect people. But I understand that people also need the rights to protect themselves from whatever may happen. Like if someone breaks into their home, they don't have, like, what's gonna win? A gun, so they're gonna need protection.
Okay, so unlike the group before, you believe that people should be able to access guns to protect themselves.
Yes. I do.
Because there are unstable individuals in society. Okay, very good point, and we hear it. Any other comment here? All right, Elijah.
I believe they should background check everyone before they give them or let them purchase a gun. Because the person who shot up the school that was 18, he planned the entire thing on the internet, on social media. He went inside somewhere, he typed everything out, planned it out, and he knew exactly what to do through social media. So they should background check everything, their accounts that they have, and the type of person that they are, and see if they have anything going wrong with them.
I don't think they check social media and what's going on with the person beyond the basic background check. So you make a very valid point. We think they do a background check, but they don't check social media, which is really where these people disclose what they're about to do. And you make a very valid point. Make the background check more extensive to current situations. Everybody's on social media, right? So why wouldn't this person who is mentally ill or this person who just have the intentions of harming people reveal it on social media? Because they know the background check doesn't go as far as social media. So you make a very valid point. Any other statement about that? Sadia, Rafaela? You all are in schools. How do you feel? What do you think about individuals, young people, especially accessing guns or accessing weapons?
Well, I think young people shouldn't have guns because sometimes they can use it to shoot up schools. It's just not really safe. So if you're 25 or older, you should get a gun to protect yourself, or don't get one at all, because I feel like the police and people who really need them should buy them. But if you're like young and stuff like that, you shouldn't really get one.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Raphael.
So I think that you should get it when you're 25 or older to protect yourself, but not for people who did nothing.
Absolutely. And most of the time, the people who were victimized did nothing to deserve it, right? Or to warrant it. Any other statement? Right, Jeremy, I'm sorry.
Like the former group said, I believe that they should have stun guns. However, I do not believe they should have tasers, because tasers are very deadly, and maybe they could injure the brain or something like that.
Very valid point. Very valid point. So, at the end of the day, do you all, just same question as I asked the first school, do you think every school should have a metal detector at the entrance?
Yes, ma'am.
Who agrees and who agrees? Who disagrees? Who agrees? So everyone believes it. So are you okay with them placing your bags or your purses on the machine to see everything in it?
Since 9/11, our privacy has already been invaded, so
Yeah,
might as well protect ourselves.
They already looked at it at the airport.
Yeah, they already do it.
Absolutely.
Might as well.
It's not that bad.
So it's not that bad. Okay, great job for the first time. Excellent. Now let's go into our second topic. We're in school. All that's been going on. It's kind of crazy, right? Yeah. And so we have so much hatred and so much evil happening in our schools, coming through the front door. And there's no prayer allowed in the schools. How do you feel about that? Let's talk. Everybody needs to share, not just a couple people. How do you feel about prayer not being in the schools and it being a law that you cannot discuss God? If a teacher brings up God, he or she is at risk of being fired. How do you all feel about that? Talk to me. Dimitri, let's start.
I somewhat understand why they would put the teachers fire the teachers if they were to somewhat speak of God, because there are many religions, and some religion might take offense to a teacher speaking to another God or something, and probably disgracing them in a certain way. So I feel like there's some instances where it's good, but there's some instances where it's bad.
Okay, I understand. Okay, any other view on it? Ende?
I agree with Dimitri.
Hold your head up, please.
Sorry. I agree with Dimitri, but I feel like it should be an option for students to choose if they want to pray or not. Like myself, I don't believe in religion or any type of religion myself. I feel like it should be an option for students that don't believe or they do believe in certain things to pray and stuff like that.
Okay, so it should be an option
Yes.
for the individual. So how can the option be given? Are we talking about first 5 minutes of class, moment of silence, you do whatever you want to do? Or how can that option be given if they're saying that prayer is not allowed in school? What's your solution? How can we fix it? Kai?
I believe that we can fix it by giving the students their own, having the students have their own time, if it's reading time or if it's a time for them to do whatever they feel necessary at the moment. It just be quiet so that some students can pray and some other students can do what they feel necessary to feel safe. Because some students, they pray to feel safe while others don't do such thing. That's...
Okay, thank you for sharing that. Over here, Matthew?
I kind of I will extend on that. It's like students should get a chance to have part in their religion, if they're in danger, if they're in danger, they're in the cold red or something, just to feel safe, because it might be their last moments. You never know.
Absolutely. Shania?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I also agree with Kai and Matthew. We should have an option to be able to pray, maybe 10 minutes of silence. I think that's already enforced in the Broward school system though. But I feel like, yes, we should have at least 10 minutes to pray or do what we like, because everyone has their own beliefs. And it's like, as a Christian, because I'm a Christian, it's not taught to force my belief on someone else. So I feel like, yes, we should all have our time to do what we please.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You had the last say?
As I'm just piggybacking on what everyone else said. I believe that there should be actually certain places in schools where students can have that time and that place. For example, so someone who is part of the Islam religion, they have a tendency to use a mat to pray towards. I don't remember the name of the place. I think it's east. They pray east towards a certain religious place, and that becomes a problem where they have to say their prayers at certain times of the day where they are not allowed to leave class, and if they are, they face retribution for it. I think there should be a time where they can excuse themselves and be able to do what they need to. Especially even with Christians, atheists, I don't care what you are. People are going to have their own opinions, and they should be able to express it, but that doesn't mean you can force it onto somebody.
Okay, got what you're saying. All right, any other opinion on that? So we have tons of religions, especially in America. Tons of religions. So every religion should be respected.
Yes.
Everyone should have the opportunity to pray or do whatever they want, right? Okay. So your idea, the synopsis of all of this, is that there should be some time put aside to allow individuals to do whatever they'd like to do with whoever they worship.
Yes.
Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Audience members, give them a hand for their wonderful job. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, always keep in mind that you have a voice. And if you're quiet, your voice will not be heard. Don't let this be the only time you take advantage of speaking up on a topic that is so crucial in the development and survival of this generation, your generation. You matter, your thoughts matter, your feelings matter, your opinions matter, okay? I'm so very proud of you. Give yourself